Alright, what's going on today? I'm going to make a net spend type beat. I've been experimenting with these a little bit. Not something that I normally make, but I feel like there are a few similarities. So I said in the recent video, I was using Serum and just how easy it is to get a good sound without some complex sound design. We're following that principle again. I'm just using the sine wave. I just put it in unison. So it's got 3 voices. I just pulled back the detune. So you can see it's got visual representation of the 3 voices. And we've got one predominant one. So it's just mixed in maybe 20%. With this analog sine wave, if you change the wavetable position, it's got slightly different shape. I actually just routed that to this LFO. So over time it slightly changes. And then I just pulled back this smooth. Then the effects, we went really simple again. And then we've just got this noise, which is a blip, as in these Serum 2 noises. It's just subtly in the background. It just adds kind of a little click to it, or a blip, I guess, essentially. This is the melody I made. It's in A minor. It starts off on the 6th and then it drops down to the 1st and it just repeats, but I've just changed the notes. So I kind of created just power chords, fifths, and then I sort of just arpeggiated some bouncy notes around them, highlighted that and duplicated it across, just added a little slight variation. I think maybe just these end bits here. When you're trying to make something specific, like a type beat or a certain vibe, is it normal that it doesn't come out right the first time? How do you usually capture the vibe of a reference track in your own beat? I'm not gonna lie, I've tried, this is probably the 3rd or the 4th time that I've tried to make this net spend type beat. It's definitely out of my comfort zone, but I feel there's a lot of similarities and sort of crossovers between the stuff that I make and maybe similar instruments and VSTs. So I definitely say you need to practice it first, because that's how it is for me. You know, sometimes it takes 3 to 5 shitty beats before I nail it. It takes a little bit of time to understand what type of sound they're using and what ones are similar without you just completely ripping off what they're already doing. And then another big thing is the basics, tempo, getting the chords and the notes right, not just the sound selection of the VSTs, but what drum kits are you using. Make sure you're using the appropriate drum kit, because if you've got one from 3 years ago, you downloaded some Drake drum kit, sure, it might have a couple of sounds in there that are going to make a good net spend beat, but if you're trying to recreate that, I'd probably look into who produces for net spend and then go in and finding those drum kits. You need to be really specific about it if you want to get it right. What I tend to find that works the best is if you're very specific to the point where you completely copy the thing and you get it perfect, and then start to pull it apart and see what you can change, swap out sounds, change the melody around, change the key it's in, or even slow down the tempo, whatever, just to put your own spin on it and make it your own so it's completely new. I think that's the best way to learn. And then you'll go to make another one and it'll just be second nature to you and you won't even really have to think about it. I just found this string sound. It's just playing the 7th in the scale. Adds just a little bit of tension in a way. We just use this reverb again with the same setting, but I pushed the pre-delay. I pushed it back a little bit, made the stereo a little bit wider, and then with the EQ, I just put it back so it was low passing at 4.5K. It was a little bit too bright, and I want it to sound like a background instrument. Naturally, things in the distance will have less upper harmonics if you think about it. When a car will drive past your house or something, outside you'll hear just the rumble of the car, you know. Things further away tend to roll off. So naturally, if you roll off the high end, it's a good way to set something back in the mix. I just resampled that melody, did my vinyl startup trick, but I set it back 2 octaves. It just suited the sound better. I think it's a bandpass filter. You only get the OSR circuit with it, or you can have it clean, but it sounded good with the OSR. And then I drove that a little bit, gave it a really short release because I wanted it to end really quickly. But what I did with the MIDI, I did a few kind of start stops. It just sort of brought more energy to it. And then with this LFO, I just routed it to sort of pan around, but I didn't sync it. I set it to a random frequency, so it just sort of seemed pretty chill. So this is a color limiter. This is a really good way to add distortion to your sound. It just really brightened up the sound and just sat it in the mix exactly the way that I wanted it to, unintentionally as well. I just kind of reached for this and I was really surprised how well it sounded straight away. Really just puts it right in your face and makes it sound more exciting. I think that's really important when you're creating sort of like a beat section. You've already got like the whole body and the general idea of the beat, so you don't want to create anything like too different that will sort of take away from that. You don't want it to be like too jolting to the listener. Something very sort of subtle that just complements what's already there. Generally speaking, like less is more in this scenario. So this is the whole beat. I just added this Redux filter just on the master. It gives off this like nice like roll off effect. It's just a nice way to break up the whole beat. I'll put this project file up on my Patreon if you want to cop it. It's included in the membership. You also get access to my stash kit, all my other project files, loop packs as well that I put up there. So go check that out if you want to. It's a great way to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.